Hello everyone and welcome to another Grindhouse Massacre tournament matchup. We have Vicinal going against Reminiscent, with Vicinal playing Wraith first in the Dead Dog Saloon, and Reminiscent playing Survivor. This is match 1 of set number 1. We see Wraith's add-ons are Swift Hunt, which reduces the uncloak time by 12%, which we're gonna see right now. You see that yellow bar when Wraith uncloaks makes him really speedy and able to catch up with Survivor. So we take on the first chase right now with Swift playing Gabriel. G-Bot deciding to break this breakable wall right here. And Swift not able to get away. Was trying to take a very creative pathing, but unable to lose G-Bot playing Wraith. G-Bot deciding to not continue the chase with Swift. Well done by Swift. Now G-Bot does find Ada here, being played by Vamp. Vamp pre-drops the pallet over here, but still gets a tag. And now we go to our main building, which is a very strong structure for survivors in this map. G-Bot deciding to break this wall here and this pallet. You'll note that G-Bot did not bring Bamboozle, which is a staple of Wraith in this map, but deciding to go with a bit of a different build here. Good stun there by Vamp, timing it really well. G-Bot deciding to leave, and well, actually no, deciding to continue the chase onto Vamp. Vamp able to make it to this filler here. This is a very unsafe filler. Oh wow! And then I think G-Bot with with a little bit of Pocus there. It looked like Vamp was over and was gonna be good to go, but that's not the case. Now we do hear the first generator popping. So one first hook for one generator. Not too bad, to be honest with you. A lot of resources were a little bit of resources were used, a couple of pallets and stuff, so now G-Bot does have information on 2 survivors that are here in the main building. So that's not great for the survivor team of Reminiscent. And G-Bot is not able to unclock all the way. Not able to get that first tag onto Array. So now G-Bot's gonna have to play a little bit of catch up here to try to get the tunnel out onto Vamp. But Vamp still has some resources here. He's got this wagon pallet. He's gonna drop it right away. And also the shack pallet, and actually greeting shack pallet. So very bold by Vamp here. Now I think this is, and wow, and then he greets it again, and it is actually working out for Vamp. And I think a third time's the charm. Now the pallet's gonna be dropped. G-Bot deciding to not continue the chase. We do hear a bit of a missed skill check here. Our favorite when we play Survivor, when we just get off the generator and we get an invisible skill check. So G-Bot just getting a tag. So now we have 3 survivors injured and only 1 hook stage. Unfortunately, well, Vamp actually doing a really good job blocking Wraith from continuing to chase someone else, knowing that Vamp has already been hooked and they don't want to give an easy fresh to Wraith. So Swift not taking the window, but is continuing through the breakable wall. Not sure if taking that window would have helped, maybe extended the chase a little more, but nevertheless, G-Bot not deciding to take the hook, actually. Trying to find Vamp, I assume? But we hear another generator being completed, so that's 2 generators left for G-Bot here. Now Array is going to take this chase. That is another down. So now we have 2 survivors down. G-Bot deciding to actually take this hook. That's going to be the second fresh. And I assume, yeah, the rest of the survivors pick up Swift. And now we continue with 3 survivors injured, which is going to be an easy target here for G-Bot. Gonna down Swifty again. Swifty just going to edge map to try to waste a little bit more time. And G-Bot deciding to continue the slugs. I think G-Bot wants to get as much pressure as he can onto these survivors. He does hear some grunts of pain here. I believe this is Adam. No, that's Ace actually. So Ace is going to go down here on edge map. Found a little out of place here. So 2 survivors being slugged, but G-Bot deciding to pick up Polito here. And that is going to be the 3rd fresh hook for G-Bot. The last fresh hook I think is a Ray, so we'll see what G-Bot decides to do. I don't think any survivor was able to make it up to Swifty. So Swifty's gonna go on hook, maybe? No, actually no. Well, maybe now, yes. Now that they... I guess G-Bot was just checking to see if anyone was going to go for the pallet save, but now that he saw that Polito was rescued, so he felt confident. Alright, so G-Bot now spotting Vamp in the distance. Would be a good target for G-Bot to chase, since Vamp would be on 2nd hook and then potentially death hook afterwards. But now G-Bot deciding, no, I don't want to go for Vamp. I'm going to go find this last fresh hook. And there we have a Ray. That's the... oh, and a little bit of miscommunication there, maybe, I think. Not deciding who was going to take the window. But able to still get it, so... with G-Bot... oh no, Swifty not able to get that fast vault over here. I was going to say, G-Bot not having Bamboozle, maybe that was going to be good for both survivors, Swifty and Polito, but not being able to take that fast vault affected Swifty's chance of actually making it safely to another window. So now we have G-Bot deciding to hook a Ray. And so that is the 4th fresh, I believe. And oh no, G-Bot finding Polito here, trying to hide to go for the, to go for the unhook, able to actually lock them in place. And an easy hit for Polito. I mean, I'm sorry, an easy hit for G-Bot. So, but did G-Bot lose Polito, or did he just decide to just camp this to death? Maybe that's what he's wanting to do. So, just doing some getting rid of some resources here in the area. G-Bot deciding to uncloak now so that he's ready in case anyone comes around. And I think that's going to be it for Array in this match. I think G-Bot has decided that Array is going to be the first survivor to leave this trial. Polito has not been reset, so I guess that these survivors are committing to gens. Which is, I think, a good call at this point. You know, they've been at 2 generators left for the past probably 5 to 6 minutes, so they need some gen pressure. G-Bot is getting rid of some of these resources, and I never talk about G-Bot's build, but we do see Corrupt, which of course is over. They do still have 1 pain wrist hook to use. And G-Bot is able to find the reset over here, and all that time that they spent resetting is lost now because of Sloppy Butcher. And Polito's gonna go down, so G-Bot deciding to slug again. Now with the 3v1, he has the luxury of leaving some of these survivors on the ground to try to pressure these generators. And Vamp being found here. I think Vamp is able to make it to this pallet, but this is a very unsafe filler pallet, so that was a 50-50 for Vamp, and G-Bot won it. So G-Bot not interested in completing the chase or completing the down. taking advantage of the sloppy butcher and deciding to just finding. He wants to go. He wants to find Polito over here. I believe maybe this is the last pain res that he's trying to get value out of. And over here, it's gonna be difficult for G-Bot here. I mean, say for Polito to make it to the window because of Wraith's add-ons to be able to uncloak faster. So another slug here by G-Bot. He's trying to secure this 4K2. All the survivors are injured. Well, actually, no. Swifties actually has been reset and he's healthy, so that helps. G-Bot trying to take advantage here of the fast zone cloak and is able to get the down. So that is going to be Vamp going on the hook. And G-Bot very wisely hooking here by the generator that has probably the most progress in the match. So now Vamp finally going on to the hook for the second time. G-Bot is looking for the reset between Swifty and Polito, but I believe they might be by the houses. I think. I don't think the reset is happening. Well, you know, we didn't see anybody, at least in main building, so G-Bot's gonna come check water tower, and that's where Swifty is. This pallet is still up, so able to play it, winning the stun. So very well played there by Swifty. G-Bot is not interested, however, in continuing the chase, and is going to go back to hook to see if he can find Polito in transition. And that's the case, yeah. So Polito able to get the unhook. It's not going to be quite a trade because just a tag, but it might be a quick down if G-Bot is able to get it to get to Polito. A little bit of a misclick here by G-Bot, and wow, I hit that. I think he short swinged. I'm not sure, but you know, it was just a little smack on the pallet there by G-Bot. So unable to get the down here. So good, well played here by Reminiscent because oh no, but G-Bot is able to find Vamp here, and Swifty's not going to take a hit for Vamp. Vamp is dead on hook, so I think they understand that Vamp has only one hook stage to give. So yeah, G-Bot is going to get their second kill of the match. Now Polito and Swifty are the only two left, and Polito is still injured, and I'm not sure that they'll have enough time to reset with Sloppy Butcher. So Polito has to play this really safe. The gen spread is, well, I mean, it's good for G-Bot, to be honest. He has a little bit of a 3-gen here. He does have one upstairs, but with that Wraith, I don't think he would have an issue going up there quickly. Swifty here trying to play some mind games onto G-Bot, but unable to do that. So G-Bot is going to get the tag and deciding to open this here. That gives the survivors there a little bit of an LT. So I guess since he doesn't have Bamboozle, maybe he thought that'll be better. And G-Bot with good game sense, finding Polito in the locker, because I don't think he would. I mean, I didn't hear any grunts of pain, but maybe he did, or just, you know, pure game sense. So well played there by G-Bot. So now Swifty is the last survivor standing. Not sure that he's gonna commit to this generator over here. It had 4 pistons though, and G-Bot spots the white hair over there by Swifty. Unfortunately, not able to blend with the bush stick. Fail here for Swifty. Good try, however. So now we have G-Bot with a 4K2, and that is a very good result for Wraith in this map. So now G-Bot is just gonna have to find Polito here. I think Polito might have moved. Not sure. So, yeah, he did, definitely, because G-Bot is having a hard time finding him. But all survivors um, will be accounted for. No one can do anything else in the match. Gbot is just standing by hatch, and it's going to secure locking Palito in the trial. And now he's just going to find Palito, but everyone has been hooked once already, so no fresh hooks or anything will be lost if Gbot is not able to find Palito. Um, so at this point, it's a 4K2. Whether Palito bleeds out, Gbot will get all the stages. But that's not going to be the case. Actually, Gbot is able to find Palito here, chilling in the edge of the map, and that completes the 4K2. So well played by Gbot, good well played by Reminiscent as well. And so we'll be back in just a few minutes with the second match, and Vicinal will play Survivor and Reminiscent Killer. So don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Hello everyone, and welcome back to this Grindhouse Massacre tournament matchup between Vicinal and Reminiscent. We have Reminiscent playing Killer and Vicinal playing Survivor right now. This is match 2 of set number 1. As we do start very quickly with a head-on onto Vamp. And here, Jonah is going to take the chase, being played by Hunt, very quickly using the firecrackers as well. But Vamp able to get the block and denying the vault onto Hunt. Now Hunt is going to continue here in the main building. We don't have Bamboozle on Vamp either. Gbot did not use it either, and so we'll see. It'll be interesting some of the chases here in main building. So very quick start here, and Vamp is not going to get the down onto Hunt. For God Palette has been dropped, and now Vamp is just going to continue another chase somewhere. And now we have Renato here dropping no exhaustion, of course, against Wraith, so unable to get distance, and the stagger is affected, affects the ability of Renato here being played by Gbot to continue. Vamp not able to lock Ace in place, so unfortunate here, but some more resources have been dropped, and Vamp is just gonna continue to get rid of them. And Ace continuing the chase here. Vamp not interested, so we'll find another person to chase. And very quickly, I want to introduce a co-caster here. Mega Dirt Potato has joined me, and I'm very excited to co-cast this game with him. And we'll see how this game goes.
Well, thank you, Robot. I think you have done great in this high-speed Wraith game. We do see another pallet used on Dead Dog Saloon. There's so many of them. You might as well use them fast to try to make sure this first down gets denied as long as possible, and these survivors doing very good at doing that and making use of the lack of bamboozle as well on some of these loops. We do see a Vamp here trying to get around to hit the injured Grease Zero on the Ace. Haunt trying to get the body block, but does not get it. Now Grease Zero makes it to Carriage Pallet. That no longer exists as it was already used. And we do see the pickup onto Grease Zero. If nobody's here for a save, this will be the first hook in this Gallows corner, which is, we'll see if there's a 3-gen here. If there is a 3-gen, it's a very hard 3-gen to break for the survivors. We do see everybody getting away from this corner. This is a holdable 3-gen for Wraith. Although there is no Windstorm movement speed while Cloak to help with it, we do see a couple pretty standard add-ons. Let's talk about Shadow Dance. Shadow Dance does help with the vault speed, but is it enough to give up Bamboozle? What are your thoughts on the lack of Bamboozle choice, Robot?
Well, I think it's interesting for sure because it's not typical, especially for any killer, to be honest, in Dead Dog Saloon. But Wraith with the speed of being able to vault fast, cloaked, maybe makes up for it. Now it doesn't shut down the loops, of course, and we did see Gbot do a very good job previously, getting a 4K2 without Bamboozle. So maybe this is the new meta for Wraith.
I do think it is a risky one because it makes the chase take a little bit longer, but for that you do get what I would assume is that pop slot, as Pain, Res, and Sloppy are too good to pass up. We do see a hit onto Haunt all the way across the map from where the hook is. As you mentioned, that previous game ending in a 4K2 makes it a bit rougher on Wraith to camp it, as they can't just sit and hold that Gallows side 3-gen. You have to get a 4th-gen stop somehow. And these survivors, now that Vamp has gone all the way across the map, even though Grizio hit second, we're going to pull him right now. As a 2nd-gen does pop off in the distance, 1 more generator for tie condition, 2 generators for the win condition. You don't need to touch anything in this Gallows corner or Gallows. Instead, what they're worried about touching is the door, as they get a body block to make sure there's all 4 survivors injured, but making sure Grizio stays up as long as they can. This is the power of Sloppy Butcher on Wraith, keeping these survivors injured and punishing that hit take. As now Vamp gets a kill and another pop to control these gens and see if they can play a 3v1. 3v1 as the survivors against Wraith is hard. Wraith has so much mobility, some surprise with these injuries, and now a pop on this gen. But another one does pop off in the distance. That is going to be the tie condition. Do you think Wraith, with this mobility, can hold on to these gens? And as I say that, we do see Slasher getting found over here in the corner at what is a relatively weak pallet and going to die corner. Robot, what do these survivors have to do to be able to stabilize?
I think it'll be a tight game now. I think Hunt and Gbot are gonna have to be very, very careful. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to go and reset, because they do still have a chance to try to do another generator. You know, it's a 3v1 condition, but they do have the ability to reset. As we see a fast pull here, and I think that's the way that they have to play this. So take advantage of any time that Vamp takes pressure off of them in this corner right here. But with fewer resources to play with, it might be a little hard here. And Vamp is just going to take the chase onto Ada, and maybe Hunt and Gbot are able to reset. But if Slasher is able to extend the chase here for just a few more seconds, they might be able to do that. And as we do see, Vamp deciding to not take the chase and trying to pressure these survivors here, and I don't think they'll choose to reset. So my guess is Vamp, as soon as he gets the next down, he's probably going to slug a little bit.
I agree. Vamp has to be very careful about these survivors doubling and cranking out a gen to get the win, as you don't have to, in comp, get a 4K or all the outs or anything. It's just trying to match or best what your opponent did, and the previous match being a 4K2 means 4K2 is a tie condition. Right now all the survivors flopping on the floor and getting put on hooks as a tie. 1 more generator is enough for these survivors to claim the victory on the set. So Vamp has to be very aware of all 4 of these generators. And now sees Slasher breaks the pallet fast with Shadow Dance. That's what Wraith excels at. That's why Wraith is on this map. And it's a second down. Now we have to see where Gbot is. And because there is no Unbreakable or anything else fancy allowed in this set to pick yourself up, we know where both of these injured survivors are. Vamp takes a second to think, do I want to hook Slasher? Do I want to go for these injured survivors? You're Wraith, you're great at sneaking up on people and getting 1 good surprise hit. So Vamp trying to push more, get this game over now, put a period at the end of this set, make sure this doesn't slip through their hands. But now we see these survivors have found a place to stealth and possibly the heal. Robot, where are these survivors and what are they doing?
Well, we might see another bush stick, but no, as we say that, Renato is found, so Gbot here just slow bolting, you know, like nothing happened. Wraith is like, okay, I see you. I know where you are. You're not on gens. So I can safely come back to this area and potentially find the survivor transitioning for the pickup. And as we say that, G-Bot is also found again, and Vamp is probably just going to commit to this and potentially Slug. I'm not sure, but it's been a while since Slasher has been on the ground, and as we see that, as we say that, Slasher is picked up, and uh, I think Vamp is just going to continue doing the same thing. I think he's just gonna down someone. Oh, what he misses? He whiffs the M1 here, and another whiff. So unable to complete the down, and now worried about the pair of survivors here, uh, potentially doubling a generator. Actually, they're getting the reset. So I think on the survivor side, I think that's the prudent thing to do. If you are able to reset, especially because they've been able to hold Vamp from downing another survivor, I think if they're able to reset, they're able to play this more calmly, they might be able to get the last generator completed. What do you think, Potato? Do you think they have a chance here?
I think they definitely have a chance, but this is putting the game on a knife's edge. If Renato had some worse 50-50s at this pallet, the game might have been over a lot sooner. But Vamp just saying, great, if we're playing this 50-50 game, I'm going to kick it. And hopefully help G-Bot kick the bucket. But instead, Renato getting some of these vaults out through the modified LG wall, making it a much weaker tile, but G-Bot still managing to just hold W enough to make that lunge miss by length. Now the down comes in. Now we're going to see a pick. We're going to see a pickup. Hopefully a pain res for Vamp's side. And now we have to figure out what Vamp's next decision is as this pain res does come through.
And we do hear the entity announcing that there's been a generator that has been regressed at least 4 times, if I remember correctly. That was that thunder sound that we heard. So at some point, it might be this generator right here. Let's see if when it's kicked. Yeah, I think it's this one here. So we see the spikes. So I think that might have been the 5th regression event on that generator. So 3 more, and that generator will be blocked. I don't know if the survivors will be able to make it that far. They continue to stay injured, and Vamp is just slowly getting rid of some of these resources here. And I wanted to point out, so you mentioned, like how many times Renato was able to play that 50-50 with Vamp, and Vamp with the add-ons that he has, being able to break pallets easily and fast with being cloaked, maybe he would have been able to save himself a little heartburn there trying to play those 50-50s all that time.
Playing Wraith with that add-on is definitely a lot of different options going on. If the survivor's aware that you want to kick it fast while cloaked, they can spam vault back and forth to deny you the kick, as you can't swing while cloaked. But forcing the 50-50s is another option. There's so many different ways to play these tiles regardless of their strength, because Wraith's power is so abusable. But what also is this macro setting, as we do see a down on a Slasher, immediately high mobility, finding G-Bot, catching them off guard, and now Vamp has a snowball going, 2 slugs on the ground, 1 injured survivor. Are they going for a reset? Are they stealthing to hope for bleed outs? Are they cranking out a generator? So many options for what's happening here. We have to start thinking as well, making sure that Slasher isn't in danger of bleeding out, although I think they were hooked once, so they won't lose the fresh bleed there, but that isn't the case for, I believe, Haunt, who is the last fresh hook, the last pain res. So if Haunt goes down in a corner and they don't get picked up instantly, we might have that as a win condition. But we do find the shirtless Jonah in a bush, and this needs to be Vamp's #1 priority to pick up if this is the last fresh hook, and they're aware of that fact. Unless we have some unusual circumstances of wiggles, which might happen in one of those corners, as it is a hook lost over there. But beyond that, that is, I believe, the 4th fresh hook. So unless something extremely unusual happens, if somebody has a flip-flop build or something really funny, this looks to be a Tycon 42.
That is correct. Yeah, so that'll be a Tycon here met by Vamp, and now Vamp just has to find all the survivor. Well, I guess 1 more survivor, so Slasher And I'm not sure that's gonna be that easy, to be honest with you. And to be honest, I kind of forgot where Slasher was down. We had so many slugs all over the place that I don't know. And with all the bushes in the map, it might be a little difficult here for Vamp to try to find them. But they do have mobility. They're able to move fast all over the map, so they might be able to find them. Now, as you mentioned, I think all four survivors have been cooked. So, oh wow, and then Vamp has Turtle Beaches or something, but because he's able to find Slasher fairly quickly here on the edge of the map.
You are correct. All 4 freshes were hooked. It would not matter if Slasher bled out. They were down over by that modified LT wall, if I recall correctly. But that is going to be the tie for the first set. Now we are moving on to Reminiscence pick of Blight on Suffocation Pit 1 as Vamp closes the hatch. We'll see you for that set here shortly after this break. Welcome back to Grindhouse Massacre Tournament, Reminiscent versus Vicinal. You're now on Blight on Suffocation Pit 1. Robot had to get an OS update. Ha, that's a good joke. So I will be taking solo cast, I believe, for the remainder of this matchup. We have Reminiscent Array Gamer on the Blight. Which is a scary proposition for any team. And we have Vicinal on the Survivor Squad of Zero, Gbot, Haunt, and Slasher. We do see a little bit of a chase onto Slasher. A pal gets kicked, chase gets dropped. And we see a Godrock filler kicked as well. The kick is a little slower than you might see in other leagues, as Brutal Strength is banned in Grindhouse, and we do see a Ruin Cleanse across the map, and a hit onto Slasher. Things going about as fast in this game as Blight themselves, as we do see the down onto Slasher. Some great rushes. The add-ons are double blighted. The perks are Corrupt and Ruin, both already gone out of the way. Discordance giving a little bit of information there right as the down came in, and Eruption is the only perk that Blight has for regression now. We do see a survivor on the hill. A couple good bounces to make sure, because you can't get the swing while you're falling off that hill. As a Blight, you're going too fast, but still gets the tag onto Gbot, and now kicks this hill gen with Eruption. Keep an eye on this hook, knowing all of the bounce logic. What trees are made of butter and which trees are made of super glue, and hitting Haunt there as Gbot does get healed. There's a lot of perks for healing that are allowed, so we're not quite sure if that's a self-heal or a perk or something else funky. What we do know is that is the base get BT hit onto Slasher. That was a short filler tile dropped, and a very risky chase right there. This is not the kind of place you want to be looping most killers, but against the Blight, this isn't the worst situation. Hard to get some of these rushes on these tighter loops. But Ray knows all about this, and all about that down, as the first gen does pop off in the distance, and Eruption procs at the same time, for those wondering why there's so many sounds in your ear. That aura reading, by the way, is Eruption. When they remove the incapacitated effect from the perk, they put on some aura reading, just to help people know where survivors are. And we do see hit onto Gbot, and I believe that white aura is Camaraderie on Slasher. You see that sometimes allowed in Blight sets, and yes, it is Camaraderie, as we do see Haunt trying to get a little bit more distance before the down comes in. There's a kick onto main building, and an unhook coming through. Array perfectly fine, slugging Haunt, trying to get the tunnel out as Zero does a for the people on to Slash to keep them alive just a little bit longer. And instantly kicking this Pallet Gym, not wanting to play this. Pick up onto Haunt or an Unbreakable. We're having a fun, fast time on these Blight games. A little swing around this tile here. Doesn't get the hit, but will Slash make it to the window? I believe they should. They do. And the pre-drop of Shack Pallet, not wanting to play Shack for too long against the Blight. That's a bit scary. Tries to stand in the doorway to deny the bounce. And as Gen pops the distance, and so does Eruption, let's talk about that play. Blight has an issue with colliding with survivors if they're just a touch off level, off altitude, whatever you want to call it, a little step below outside of Shack. And Slasher was trying to deny that bounce. It looked like Ove was trying to go outside, bounce off the hill, and then get the hit. But it still gets the bounce, means that Slasher goes down for that little bit of a trick there. As we do see Ove kicking that main building corner piece, a very strong part of main building. With that out of the way, main comes a lot more manageable, even for an M1 killer, and it makes it even stronger for Blight. Ove hears again at high progress, because the down onto G-Bot. And Eruption was already used and not reset, so there is still a cooldown on Eruption. And Ove with confidence, having one slug, having one injured, one healthy. A rainbow of health states finds the Jonah. Everybody's injured or on the floor. This is a panic time for the survivors, but they do get the pickup on to G-Bot, or at least G-Bot is picked up by something. And now we have 3 injured against the Blight. Not where you want to be sitting in a 3v1, especially with 3 gens left. The heal on G-Bot does come through, instantly put back into the injured state. What a showcase of how Blight can ping-pong between survivors. Almost playing in a similar style to the Wraith games we just saw. Ping-pong at the end there between so many different survivors, you get so many tags. And now the down comes on to G-Bot, and Eruption proccing and some screams, and trying to find where that aura reading is. Trying to find the survivor that procced it. Not seeing anything. There's a survivor running all the way across the map. That's what we do see. And a pallet dropped in Ove's face. This might be enough of a stall here from Vizier to see if G-Bot can get picked up or another gen gets cranked. No pallet here at this Godrock. G-Bot does, in fact, go back standing, even though injured, and Grizio hits the ground. Ove, not content to hook, not wanting to give up another gen, wants to end this game at a 4K3, and now we see a loud sound notification at the Shack window. And see somebody going into basement. Ove goes into fatigue, knowing they don't need rushes in basement. Gets the down on to Haunt, and says, nope, not hooking this one either. We're gonna kick this gen, put down Eruption, make sure that these gens can't be touched or worked at all. And Grizio is now standing up. And Ove using all of the rushes, the power of double blighted, getting so much speed by the end there. And the stun almost gets a forces pull. If you have enduring there, that's a hit. But no enduring means Grizio gets just enough distance to dodge that first swing. Forces locker. You might be a bit confused why you'd force locker there if you're just saying you won't make the window. But Grizio knew they didn't make the window anyways, just trying to force Ove to be incentivized to hook instead of letting the slugging continue. If this gets any value, we'll find out here, as these survivors weren't able to get much progress on this Shack gen, which is really when you want to force that pull. Say, I'm forcing a pull, I'm stopping slugging, or I'm gonna make the killer check the wrong locker. Make sure this killer is forced to play in such a way to deny Eruption. And Ove says, nope, I'm slugging. I don't care that you hop blocker. Ove wants more. And does see it's either a deliverance or a second wind. Find out here shortly with a bit of a spectator animation bug right there. G-Bot getting healed says not much about what's happening. So many perks allowed. We do see Grizio now full health, says that looked to be second wind. Now G-Bot playing this, winning the 50-50. Ove says, great, I'm so happy that you won the 50-50. Now take a few Blight serums. Couple only had to use 2 charges, so gonna get power back very quickly. Gets a little bit of a back bounce, if that's what the proper name for that is. Almost gets a swing on to G-Bot over here as well. And Ove wants to leave Chase. Ove wants to leave G-Bot injured to go back to this pickup that happened likely on basement stairs or Shack. Now there's the heal onto Haunt. Ove not wanting to hook. not wanting to stop rushing. If this was a pub match, you would think that they're playing it for maximum blood points, already at max deviousness. But this is competitive. That's not the score we're looking at. We're looking at the killer getting kills and denying generators. Array wanting to make sure there's no opportunities for these survivors to pop these gens. But at the same point, you're using all of your eruption. And now you have to start thinking about that anti-3-gen mechanic, the kick limit, the regression limit, but instead it's saying, hey, Gree0, I hope you're here, gets a hit as well. All of the ping-ponging and coming through. Should call this table tennis. Gree0 gets the window, but will they be able to make more, get some double vaults, win some mind games, and dodges the swing. What a beautiful juke by Gree0. Running topside might mean that there's a survivor trying to crank out this Shack Gen, dropping Godrock, and somehow these survivors might have found a way to at least partially stabilize with a good chase by Gree0. And down comes in, but Han's healthy. Array, he has a lot of progress on this main building generator, has to check it, sees the injured G-Bot, and sees an opportunity to finally finish up this game, gets the hit onto G-Bot. Now you have two slugs right next to each other. This is an opportunity that Array has been waiting for so long, and sees G-Bot trying to get the pickup. They do pick up Gree0, but is it too little, too late? Gree0 hits the floor again. Array sees Haunt, unless there's an unbreakable. This might be the end of the road for this match. There's a pallet. Somehow still not at max brutality with all of these hits and kicks. Almost at max hunting. And there's another down. That'll be 3 survivors on the ground, with 1 already sent back to the campfire. And now Array is happy to pick people up and put them on hooks. Likely no flip-flop. Unbreakables should have been used. We'll see if there's anything else these survivors can pull out of their bag of tricks. They stalled this game out for a long time, but so did Array. So we're looking at what appears to be a 4K3. G-Bot is still a fresh hook. I'm being informed by some amazing staff members to make sure that I don't lose track of everything happening around here. That is Gree0 giving themselves to be hooked. G-Bot, the last fresh hook. Under 2 minutes on the bleed out timer. Regardless on if this fresh hook gets found or not, a great performance by Array, getting a 4K3 on Suffocation Pit 1. You'll frequently see Blights on Blood Lodge. Suffocation Pit probably the second or third most common map next to Fractured Cowshed. And now Array looking around to try to find these survivors. And we do see Hunt has a deliverance. This game is technically not over yet, but trying to chase a Blight in this fashion. And with a purposeful back bump, I believe. A beautiful play to make sure Haunt goes back down, but that seemed to just be a ploy to make sure Array cannot find G-Bot the fresh hook. That wasted a good 20 seconds of Array's time if you take the chase, the down, and the charges. The location that Array is at for where G-Bot was down was over here by this top side, but they do find G-Bot as Gree0 dies. Now the only question is, can they get back to Haunt before they get to Hatch? But G-Bot being a fresh hook also means you've got a good minute 15 to be able to get all the way across the map. As you cannot 4%, you cannot Kobe, you cannot DC to give your friend Hatch in competitive that is reserved only for pubs. And now we do see Haunt here at Shack, already using their deliverance. No duplicate perks, so we know G-Bot does not have deliverance. This will finally be the end of this slugfest. As we would imagine, Array's blood points is going to be pretty close to maximum. Array not kicking, wanting to be aware if there's any more second chance perks getting pulled out of this match. Maybe even aware of anti-camp unhooks that isn't allowed in competitive, as Haunt should be giving up on hook. And G-Bot should be dying as well. Let's take stock on what happened to Obey, a very confident Blight player. If you don't know the username, you don't know what you're missing out on. That's why Reminiscent picked this Blight set, I would presume. Now, Vicinal, we're going to have to see what they can do on their Blight side, because the first set ended in a tie. We're still trying to figure out who takes the first big advantage of this match. We'll see if Vicinal's killer can pull out a 4K3 or if the survivors will be able to work with Obey's great performance shortly after this break. Welcome back to Reminiscent versus Vicinal. We have Vicinal's 3-0 on the Blight, and we have Reminiscent's Juggernaut, Slammy Shimakama, Deco, and Vamp. And we are trying to find survivors. We do see Vamp off in the distance. Is 3-0 going to commit to that chase? Looks like we will. We see some walking. We see a sprint burst. We instantly swapping. Sees a pallet drop. Goes all the way across the map. Over to this chase and sees another survivor. Oh, he's having a... 3-0's having a great time playing... Spot the survivor, not trying to play for the chase. We do see a little bit of a juke right there from Juggernaut, going where the main building basement would be if this wasn't competitive. And we do see try and play around this main building. Greaser gets the cutoff, gets a swing to the pallet to try to deny that. It's a bit of a back bump, some wild bumps, and even with double blight, it doesn't get the hit. We do see some standard add-ons, but an interesting Gift of Pain brought no ruin, no pop, just eruption with Gift of Pain, Dying Light, trying to make sure to get a whole bunch of hits. Not as concerned about the tunnel not by that build, as Gift of Pain isn't going to do as much if you are going for our tunnel, besides making sure that heal onto the tunnel out a bit slower. You see hit and a vault out of main and a stun on the main corner piece pre-drop pallet. And another stun here on to the Godrock. These survivors can be cranking gens across the map, and as we do see one of them pop, again with a tie condition of 4K3, just cranking some of these early gens is going to be doing a lot. Already used 3 bounces, gets the break onto the rock pallet. Juggernaut going here around the backside of main building. Stuck at this weak pallet, but manages to get there just enough to wait out the swing miss cooldown and then get the stun on the pallet. And that means Greasier says, I have to leave, I have to get pressure somewhere else. And now you're on to Vamp here at Water Tower. And now Vamp just waiting at the Orman tile, trying to play the best they can. Greasier trying to hope they drop it, and there is the drop of the Orman pallet. And now there's the down on to Vamp. Greasier getting the first hook already after 1 gen pops. We'll see if these survivors are high progress on a 2nd gen. No pain res in S tiers, but now you're going to see 1 stack of Dying Light. This entire build, besides Corrupt, is focused on getting that first down and getting some pressure with Eruption and Gift of Pain and Dying Light. All mostly value after that first kill comes in if you're going to tunnel. But this is a map on Suffocation Pit. This map shaped like a dog bone or a dumbbell. A little bit of a choke with a couple walls sticking in, or a rectangle where somebody pinches the sides with those little walls dividing it. So getting this middle gen done means you have 3 gens on this top side, this main building side, and 3 gens on that bottom side, that shack side. And because the win condition is a 4K3, you have to beware for both of them. Excuse me, tie condition is 4K3. As we do see the Hook come in, Slamma, Jamma, Kama dies for it. The Eruption does proc. We get the grab onto Vamp to make sure that there is no BT to deal with, and there is no DS from Vamp. And now Vamp going right back on that hook. A 2nd stack of Dying Light. But that 2nd generator popping is the tie condition met. So now we're focusing on trying to just confirm this tie. You have to check all of your gens and check to make sure your hooks stay on the hook, as we do see an unhook come in, but does not get the grab onto Vamp. Just the BT hit as another unhook does come through. And missing the swing on to Vamp, playing this Philodile. A missed swing might be a humongous deficit, as that gen does pop off in the distance. That will be the win for the survivors here of Reminiscent. Raise killer side enough to give this survivor side a simple win con for this map, but these survivors making sure they get it, not caring about the details. We will still continue to play out this match to see what result this comes up with. But that is a bit of comfort for these survivors. The Orman tile is slightly playable. Power break does come through, but that did use a lot of rushes. Grizio was still having to wait for the charges to come back. Now the charges are back, and now Deco hits the floor. Regardless of the result of this game, though, Grizio had some great plays there in those connecting tiles. Making sure to get the grab to deny potential DSs and dead hards, and the BT hit as well to make sure that that Tomahawk comes out very speedily. However, that length of first chase was really a humongous difference in the result of this set, and being able to play for such an easier win con makes the macro and decision making for the survivor side so much easier. Now we do see Grizio getting into a chase with Juggernaut, already getting one hit here around main building, bouncing out some of these coal crates, these mine carts, and Grizio does get it down and will hook, because this is not the obsession. That's another Dying Light stack. That might have been why they slugged Deco, or they're a bit concerned that they might be the Deli player, regardless on if they are or not. And now we do see swinging to Shack. Are you going to try to commit to the Shack gen? They're playing a waiting game. And it should be the... Oh, they don't get the gen! No! They were committing to try to confirm the gen just to get one more gen on the scorecard. Just for a little bit of pride and joy because the win con was already met. Now Grizio will kick it with Eruption. There'll be another stack of Dying Light on the table. And now Deco on the ground. We're going to be looking at Deco on the ground or slamming Shamakema. Is the Deli. Grizio running back here just in case it is. Now we're going to be hunting for our Crash Hook on to Deco as Juggernaut does hit second. Can no longer Deliverance unhook. So just a nice, simple waiting game of seeing if you can find Deco or the bleed out. As once again, this result was already a win for the Survivor Squad. If you don't watch much competitive, you might be saying, the killer got a 4K, how's that not a win? This is a head-to-head win condition, as this is a match between two teams, because the other killer got a 4K at 3 gens. 4K 3 means that killer side wins, which means this survivor side wins. So that is the set for Reminiscent. And while we're waiting for Grizio to close the hatch here and for Deco to bleed out or get found, let's take a second to talk about set 3. It will be Vicinal starting off on the killer side of Wesker on Coal Tower 1. A little bit of a bigger picture. These teams are vying for last few spots of group stages. Vicinal is already in the group stages. However, Reminiscent is doing their best to put on a good show and try to see if they can squeak into the group stages based on their result here today. This means a lot for them, and that might be just enough to have pushed them over that line. Playing with something on the line is so much in terms of momentum and morale. We'll see how set 3 goes. Reminiscent versus Vicinal. going into set 3. Wesker on Cold Tower 1 after this break. Welcome to set 3 of Reminiscent versus Vicinal. Vicinal's G-Bot on the Wesker on Cold Tower 1 against these Reminiscent survivors of Heck, Juggernaut, Deco, and Vamp. G-Bot with a relatively standard set of add-ons and fairly standard perks. Sometimes you'll see Pop or Eruption placed with each other, as we do see a chase already onto Vamp. One of Cold Tower's relatively few pallets already dropped. That's a pretty strong pallet against the Wesker, as Wesker can struggle with those filler tiles. But what G-Bot isn't struggling with is getting M1s against Vamp at a pallet gym. There's another pallet already dropped and broken with Brutal, a great tool to make sure you're just close enough to get a couple of these dashes. And we do see a very fast down onto Vamp. G-Bot carrying this to middle map for a good hook position and possibly a pain res. Not a pain res, but a good hook position to figure out where these survivors are and try to figure out what they're doing. Checking on this gen close on the bottom side. Gonna kick it to apply Eruption. We do see kind of 3 gens on the main side, almost 3 or 4 on the bottom side, depending on what you call that generator touching the logs. But it does mean there's a lot of good 3-gen setups here. You could play main, you could play that log side, you could play the main side, you can play a lot of parts of this. But what G-Bot wants to play is shove the Renato into a wall, gets the tag onto Deco over here at this gym and going straight back to hook. Sees somebody going for the unhook. Only has one charge at the moment. See them waiting for their second and just taking the M1 onto Heck. And looks like they might be wanting to go for another fresh hook. Gets the slam onto Heck. And that's another quick down by G-Bot. Now we've got a hook closer to this main building, kind of at the top of mid. You call it mid-main if you don't know claw callouts, but that is a pain res, and that down did proc Eruption. Now we do see Vamp, the already previously hooked survivor, whose pain res has not been used. An ambitious swing through the pallet, just to see if it was being camped. We do see one generator pop in the distance, and now we see the value of Egg, but G-Bot misses the second dash. The unhook onto Heck does come in. We know where most of these survivors are. We see a quick kick with Brutal Strength. G-Bot already back with 2 charges. Can they get here in time? They interrupt the generator. Oh, they don't get the down or hit onto either of them. Deco is fully infected, infection ticking up on Vamp and Heck, something to keep in the back of your mind, as Vamp might be getting a touch of slowdown here, and they don't know if that affected if they made that window, but they do go down. These survivors have made a lot of gen progress with that chase, popping the 1 gen previously and 2 more at the end there. Now we do see G-Bot, this was a pain res earlier, this is a pain res hook. We do see the second stack of pain resonance being used. Now see a dash onto Juggernaut. Almost everybody is infected. We know by the spray where that last survivor is. With this Killer Instinct. Taking some time to do some renovations up here in main building. We see a survivor going up top, possibly with balanced landing. And it does look to be that both by the lack of a stagger noise and a great speed boost away from the hook. We do see where Heck is with the Killer Instinct from cleansing with the spray to get rid of that infection. G-Bot trying to keep an eye on where these survivors are, as they have lost almost all of their topside generators. Usually on Cold Tower you'd be wanting to hold this main building 3-gen, but playing this reasonable shack side 3-gen is possible. But G-Bot just wanted to make sure that Vamp dies, goes into a 3v1. So Wesker is a very strong killer in macro map pressure and in looping. So playing a 3v1 against them, especially with Eruption, is going to be difficult to accomplish and get too many more gens done. And now we're playing 50-50s at a card tile, and the hit does go to G-Bot. And now I have 2 dashes to catch back up. I'm gonna double dash straight back to the gen setup. Everybody's injured. 1 person fully infected. A humongous opportunity for G-Bot here to try to get some snowball. But instead, the survivors are greeting out this gen, trying to make sure it goes to a 4K1 to give their killer a good condition regardless. And we'll see. Shack Pal's still up. Survivor not camping it to pre-drop it. We'll see what the survivor is taking the chase. We do see Chase trying to go up closer to this main building side. We now do see the set 3 gen that G-Bot has to try to play around. Realistically, at this point in the game, G-Bot should be shooting to get a 4K1. Oh no! That's a slow vault into a locker. Were they trying to stealth or were they trying to go for a head-on? But regardless, that is a very free pull for G-Bot. Is that a bait to hope they don't check this last generator that's enough progress? We should be able to make sure there is no progress on any of these 3 gens. Now G-Bot has a hook in their 3 gen on a hill, and they have the opportunity and the time to kick all these gens with Eruption, make sure nothing is flying, and seize what I believe is 2 gens at 0% and 1 off into a corner that with Eruption on it. Survivors trying to figure out what the correct play here is. Do they find a way to reset, get some space? They get the double heal off. Juggernaut needs to spray though, or they're going to be insta-downable by Wesker's power. That's what that red circle means. Maximum infection, you're hindered, and a Wesker power will, while healthy, will still put you in the dying state. And now, because of that spray giving Killer Instinct and using their eyes to see where Deco is, you know where these survivors are. And G-Bot misses a very important dash. We do see it looks like Juggernaut might be able to get the unhook in time to make sure Heck doesn't die. They do get the unhook right before Juggernaut dies. Now we do see Juggernaut here with what might have been a sprint burst or balance, I'm not quite sure. But G-Bot sees where that chase is going, doesn't want to take it, wants to see if they get back on Heck, who is Death Hook, injured. Not much to play with as these 2 pallets were already thrown at the beginning of the game in the first chase. This pallet gone as well. You're playing a 4-lane against a Wesker. That's not where you want to be going. And Eruption does proc on this gen. G-Bot thinks that they have to slug to defend the gens, but remembers the other ones were 0 progress before they hooked Heck. They have time to hook Heck. Eruption making sure nobody is going to be finishing that gen while G-Bot is busy hooking. G-Bot gets the kill, puts this into a 2v1, and now you're playing against the Wesker with a hard 3 gen with a lot of used pallets in this corner. G-Bot goes, yep, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. No gens are flying, but I do get a face full of Blast Mine. That's a fun thing to stare at. A 3-second blind and a 3-second stun makes every single kick fun. And we're going to go back over to this gen, get some Eruption down. That gen with only 2 pistons moving under 50%. Already has Eruption on 2. Thinks they see somebody. And they do. They have better eyes than I do, or better V-shade settings. G-Bot already in chase with Deco. Now you would be expecting Juggernaut to be on one of these gens trying to crank it out during this chase. This is possibly the survivor's last hope at getting this to a better win condition rather than a 4K1 tie condition. G-Bot takes a pallet, does not want to try to take a health state, knows his chase might be going on too long, needs to take a look at this gen, and instead of going to the gen, goes to where they expect Juggernaut to be pre-running to, and they guess correctly. Trying to force a vault, doesn't get it, but now thinking, I wonder, is Deco going to be sneaking back to this generator in the corner? Can I get another kick on this? Can I get an injury? Something for free that I don't have to work for. We do see the anti-3 gen regression limit spikes coming into play. Shouldn't be too much of a deal on most killers in most settings, but a slow 3 gen like this with Eruption is definitely a way that you can be losing the ability to kick your gens. Now we have a second to see what G-Bot's looking at. Looking at 3 gens, sees a survivor, already a safe distance away. Trying to figure out who they can commit to. They see Deco going to a 4 lane. Gets the double dash. It's a vault instead. That was an odd vault there. Now going back into chasing. Deco still at this 4 lane. The vault does come through, but so does a hit. And that might be enough of a reason for G-Bot to leave this chase and check back up on this gen in the corner. The survivors in comms calling the survivor that the killer has dropped them. We see Juggernaut pre-running over to Shack. G-Bot taking the chance to kick this gen. No, not going to. Thinking about holding a dash, trying to see if Deco was greeting for this gen, and they might have been. Used both dashes to get over here though. No saturation across the map, so no extra cooldown reduction for having survivors infected. There is eruption on the gen that G-Bot's most worried about. So if they can land this set of 2 dashes with Egg and Unicorn Medallion, the down will come through against the wall, and the 2 gens will explode for eruption to have a slowdown. And now you see Juggernaut's aura. The gen gets regressed. You know it's not popping. It's a 10% regression, meaning it's going to take about 9 seconds of gen progress to be able to finish it. But that's in addition to all the progress the gen still needed to have. We do see G-Bot perfectly fine slugging Deco, trying to find Juggernaut over here. Going to the corner, trying to find a stealthing and detective tap. Have fun with that one. Looking around, looking at the gen. You would think based on the franchise, detective tap comes from, there's no way Wesker saw him. I love that one said as G-Bot looks around at this 3 gen. Still trying to find Juggernaut, wanting to make sure that there's no trickery going on. Nobody sneaking to finish this generator when they pick up Deco. Nobody getting out through Hatch or closing Hatch and playing for exit gates. That just gives an opportunity to lose this 4K1 win con and putting asterisks at the end of it. G-Bot looking around, seeing if they can find anybody. Trying to figure out what the best play is, where these survivors should be going, checking on their gen progress now a little bit. Getting a hit onto this gen that has not hit these spikes yet to give the halfway notification. And now you do see the survivor standing up, trying to pick up their teammate. Perfectly fine, leaving Deco again, and trying to get eyes back on Juggernaut, sees the scratch marks. And if you get a visual on your chase, this should be the end of it, and that looks to be a balanced landing, as possibly mentioned earlier. And now it's just going to be a matter of chasing and stalling. Trying to stall either for Deco to bleed out, or Deco to crawl in a spot they can bleed out. As I believe Deco is a fresh up because we only have 6 stages with 2 kills. Trying to juke around the window, trying to make the Wesker miss. They missed 2 dashes. But we'll see. The ideal situation is for these survivors to drop chase and get the gen done. But beyond that, if Deco bleeds out and Juggernaut gets hacked, that's a big note for winning condition. And now we see the chemical trap. The killer legally isn't allowed to kick it. That is the joke that you will see on Reddit. But instead, who needs to kick pallets when you're a Wesker? No need to get frosty snow all on your brand new suit and a million pair of sunglasses. You see the down on to Juggernaut, and now you have a good amount of time to try to find Deco slugged on the ground. Down them near main building, but starting to check edge map over here on the top half. And you will see Deco on the ground, assuming that G-Bot makes it to a hook, which they very easily should be able to. That is going to be a 4K1 by Vicinal's G-Bot on the killer side, setting up their survivors for a relatively easy tie condition. 4K1 on Wesker is pretty reasonable for both sides as an expected result. So here is the situation. Situation is, if this set is a tie, if this is a 4K1, that means because set 1 was tied and set 3 would therefore be tied, the set 2 win by Reminiscent would mean that they win the matchup. If they do not need to win it, they just need to tie the 4K1. If Vicinal wins the set, then the matchup as a whole would be a tie, and we will see if a tie is enough to get Reminiscent into the playoffs of Grindhouse Massacre. By the way, we will see what the second half can do shortly. Because as soon as Juggernaut dies, Deco will start dying a little bit faster. And we'll see what the other half of this matchup is looking at. We'll see whose Reminiscent Wesker player is and how they'll be doing it against these Vicinal survivors to see if they can meet this Tycon right after this break. Welcome back to the last match of Reminiscent Vicinal. Set 1 was a tie, set 2 went to Reminiscent, and now we have Reminiscent's killer Vamp doing the best to tie or win this set to win the matchup. We'll see how that plays out for the standings of the group stage. We see Vicinal's survivors of Greasy, G-Bot, Haunt, and Slasher once again as Vamp takes a vault trying to find this first chase going into main building. Looking around for more survivors. It's an easy chase here at the rock pallet. It is Slasher and gets the hit through the pallet. That's when people are going to start hitting escape to check what the ping for this matchup is. We see Slasher go back to this rock they got hit on, using the speed to do a U-turn, as a Vamp with Brutal does kick it. We see a pretty similar build to last time, only swapping out Eruption for Pop and Egg for Leather Gloves, but Vamp showing they don't need Egg if they just tap Power 2 times and get the hit anyways. Carrying now up towards this main building, and that is not a pain res, but a good hook position for this topside 3-gen. And we do see 1-gen out Water Tower and 3 on the Shack side. Being aware of these 3-gens on Cold Tower is very important. Even though it's not a set 3-genning map, you can still get some funky 3-gens happening over here, as we do already have our next chase. So going back to the tunnel out, if they can get to it. You see chase on to the Ada once again over here at a mid to filter tile. These filter tiles, again, a bit harder for Wesker than a lot of these set maze tiles are. Trying to do some double backs to get inches of distance, as we do see the pallet does come down, trying to play around it, but will not get the hit. Will instead bump into some nice pieces of wood, but does get the M1 over the pallet. Wesker's voice lines shows why he is the mastermind and why some people enjoy playing this killer. But what you're really looking for in this killer is this level of power, this strong chase that Vamp is showcasing extremely well with a second hook, and this one is a pain res on a hill. It's all one survivor off the distance, not concerned about it, concerned about this main building. The survivors are trying to crank out, being the generator of de resistance of this topside 3-gen, the hardest one, as it's very unsafe to do without balanced landing against almost any killer that plays this map, as a generator on the bottom side, the Shack side, does get popped, and one on the top side does as well. That might not seem like a very big thing to most people in pubs, but in competitive, that is a humongous loss. There's no solid 3-gen to hold. You have to kind of scatter it or include that middle water tower gen, as Greasy does give up a health state to give 4 other people to the tunnel out of Slasher. We see another survivor here. We see an opportunity for a little bit of snowballing, as I think there is a baker somewhere in the area who is looking to know where their butter went, and I think Vamp figured out where it is, as some odd sliding happening, as we know Vamp is over here cooking with some pressure. We do see that was Slasher spraying, as they no longer have the infection on the HUD that they previously had. So now Vamp knows where the tunnel out is, but the tunnel out is healthy. So what do you have? You have a main building gen you need to protect. With Pop goes the Weasel. Expecting the survivor to drop down. This is the Injured Haunt. And the healthy G-Bot. This is everybody but the tunnel out up here at the main building. It's a party. Only one of you has balanced landing. The other one of you has really bad power to work with, especially with Brutal Strength. kick this fast. It should be a double dash down. The firecracker for the stall does mean that Vamp goes blind, and the blind means that that hit should not connect, but Haunt barely does not make it to that pallet. Vamp gets the pickup. Is this a pain res? It is a pain res. That is huge. Any other hook would have taken another 5 seconds to get to. We'll see if that was the difference of this gen popping or not. But now, because it doesn't pop, it gets popped. No, they did not stop the regression, so Vamp will not kick that gen to add even more regression on top of it. And now here's the kind of time where you want Egg to be able to hold that power up a little bit longer. Instead you have leather gloves for a 10% power recovery. Get those charges back faster. We do see some looping in main. This one is a pretty decent spot to loop, but also denies the ability for other survivors to get up to that main building gen safely. But a little bit of a bounce hiccup at the window means Vamp has to drop chase for a second to keep an eye on anybody going for this unhook, but also anybody trying to work some of these nearby generators. Now we're looking at Haunt's hook time. They might be getting left to second stage. If nobody is here to get them now, Haunt does hit second. G-Bot does get hit. Now we do see G-Bot going back into main building as the gen pops in the distance. Now we start to think about winning conditions and tie conditions just a little bit more. Going up against the 4-lane against the Wesker is not what you want to be playing, but Vamp gets the hit on to G-Bot. As another gen does pop, this is the tie condition. As of right now, as the last match's result was a 4K1. So now Vamp needs to defend all 3 of these generators to be able to hold on to the Reminiscent tie condition. Again, a tie in this set is a win for the matchup because they won set 2. If Vicinal manages to pop this 5th gen or get anything funny like a hatch or an exit gate or a fresh bleed or something silly, then Vicinal will win the set and tie the matchup. But instead, it's Haunt hitting the floor before I get the chance to finish my sentence and transition into the next thought, as Vamp is transitioning into the next down, getting a hook over here on the bottom side, away from that main building gen. No pain resist to use yet, but that is a kill onto Haunt, making this now a 3v1, but it's a pretty rough gen split to be able to patrol everything. Vamp is going to need pressure, and Vamp is going to need it now. Does wait for G-Bot to drop against a 1-dash through the window. A very tight window to hit through, but manages to get it. And now we also do see Greezero. We know where Greezero and G-Bot both are. Almost a traffic jam at the window. But Wesker doing the best to zone. Will they get hit through the pallet? They should, and they do. And Vamp gets a free piece of wood for their trouble. Who needs gold for metals when you have pallets that you get for free? And once again, another bounce off of the vault attempt. We do see G-Bot on the backside of main. We see Greezero up here in main, but is Slasher working that Shack gen? There's a timer on all of these chases that needs to be taken into account. All 4 pain res is used, all 4 fresh is gotten. So the only way you're going to be able to get some gen regression is by survivors missing skill checks or a nice kick, which means you have to get all the way across the map in time. And now we see Vamp realizing this might be too long of a chase. Checking the progress of this gen, you do see that 4th piston's moving. This gen's at over 75%. That spells disaster for Vamp. But we do see Greezero gets the pallet drop here in Shack gen. In Shack, not the gen. Apologies. We see a tight chase. I'm so focused on what's happening in the game, I'm forgetting how to speak. Greezero takes the chase so far up to main building. We see the loud sound should have been the vault sound. Shack, this gen next to Shack. The regression stops, forcing Vamp to go back to kick it, but it's still above 75%. If we do some rough math, 75%, 25% of the gen left, 90% gen. Wow, I'm doing math really fast. Less than 20 seconds on the gen should be for it to be finished by 1 survivor if they don't hit their skill checks. What math am I talking about? Let's focus on the chases. That's the exciting part of Comp DBD, as I have to talk pretty fast for what's happening. We see Slasher get slammed. That's bludgeoning, not slashing, but the last gen does pop. That is main building worked on by the other survivors who are not taking chase here. That is going to simplify a lot of the math of how this end game is going to work. I can't talk fast enough to say everything that's happening, so bear with me for a second. Slasher hops into the locker. The result of the rest of the results of how many stages get out does not matter. This has been a tie. Vicinal will win the set as they have popped the 5th generator. That means set 1 is a tie. Reminiscent wins set 2. Vicinal wins set 3. That is a tie matchup. So this is group stages, not direct elimination, so there is no 4th set to break the tie. This will go in the books of the group stages as a tie, which means Reminiscent does not make it to the Massacre playoffs. It will be Vicinal who secured their spot prior to this match. Valhalla did as well, but instead of Reminiscent, we will be seeing Overcome. Overcome with a 3-2 record in the group stage. Reminiscent with 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie means they are not moving on to the group stages. In Group A, we have Dead Future, PSR, and Silence. In Group B, we have Valhalla, Vicinal, and Overcome as the 6 remaining teams in the Grindhouse Massacre Tournament Season 1. The playoffs of this tournament will be starting, I believe, round 1 for the finals bracket is starting on Friday, July 26th. So you have a bit of time to schedule plans for this weekend before we pick back up with the action the weekend after that one. What an exciting end to such a group stage. The last match mattering makes everything more exciting. I'm Mega Potato, and thank you for Robot while you were here. I hope your upgrades and other reasons for going FK are going well, and we will see you all in 2 weeks for the Grindhouse Massacre bracket.